Hi everyone, good evening and welcome back to another live stream. It's the Four Horsemen of the Toon with me, PD Proudlock, James from Toon Army TV and John Sinclair. We'll bring them in now. So we'll be discussing the Sheffield United game, Arsenal game, Joelinton and the goalkeeping situation at Newcastle United, which is, to say it's interesting is an understatement. So welcome guys. Welcome guys. How is all doing?
Very well, thanks. And you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. We've got a problem with John's reception. I don't know what's going on there at the minute. He needs to probably sort that out. It's a vibe. I'm getting an echo in my ear, but never mind. So, guys, we talk about Saturday in the FA Cup against Arsenal. We went into it with dreaded fear, but obviously it's turned into a 2-0 win for Arsenal after extra time. Pete, what did you think of the game?
I mean, the performance, I couldn't really fault it. It was just those chances were missed. Oh, you had your head in your hands and thinking, how the hell have we missed them? If we'd taken those, we're through to the fourth round.
It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe Andy Carroll missed the first one, but the second one, I think Leno made a good save, don't get us wrong, but when it came over to him on his left peg, I thought that was it. James, what do you think?
It was a game of two halves. I think Arsenal first half were quite bright, as you'd expect. They were getting forward, creating chances. Newcastle were just sat in deep, just hoping that Arsenal wouldn't get that first goal, because if they did first half, it would have been a long evening. Second half, Newcastle grew into the game. I believe that was our second half, by a long way.
John, we've still got the echo on your line, mate.
Right.
I'll continue.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's a Newcastle second half, grew into it. We're starting, to make things happen. And yeah, you mentioned Andy Carroll had two big chances. I think for me, the one at the end, he should just roll in, at the bottom corner. And I think Leno was beating all ends up. If we score that goal, I think we're going through. I think Arsenal were very lethargic second half, playing from the back, very dangerous as well. And that is a dangerous game if you don't have the players. And listen, I think the second half was our half, but extra time, I think we're just tired out, unfortunately, in Arsenal's quality, Sean.
Do you think Petey should have brought Andy Carroll off, or should he have left him on with Gale up front?
I would have kept him on. He looked threatening in that game.
Yeah,
he really did. I didn't think we should have took him off.
See, I'm not sure why he took him off. He's probably not going to be in the reckoning to start against Sheffield United, so I don't know why he took him off. There was no need, really. He could have gone two up top, but we know he doesn't like doing that. I thought that the Andy Carroll chance at the end, he had choices, really. If he just kept a bit calm, he could have sort of went to shoot, because Leno had already committed himself, hadn't he? So if he could have just stopped the ball and knocked it onto his right foot and tapped it in. But that's in the moment, isn't it? You just think afterwards you can look at it and you can have a go a little bit and say, well, he should have scored, he should have done this. But when you're in the moment, I suppose, the goals at gaping and it was a massive, massive chance. But I thought we did all right. But what I don't understand is I've since heard like AFTV, for one, watching them say that they completely controlled the game. And it would have been a travesty had Newcastle won it at the end. James?
I don't think they did. I think first half, they were decent. They had chances, but they just couldn't break our defensive wall down. Second half, I believe it was our half, but if it wasn't for the inexperience of just not putting the ball in the back of the net and just panicking, and if we put that ball in, I think, to be honest, I think the better side actually went out the competition. I think we were much better than Arsenal, truth be told. I just think it was that decision with the red card that maybe turned things. If Smith Rowe being sent off, in my opinion, then that may have spurred Newcastle on to maybe go on an extra time and kill off the game, and if not, go to penalties. And listen, I can understand where they're coming from their point of view, but you can see why Arsenal are struggling this season. And I think Newcastle were quite comfortable there compared to where we've been before and playing these big clubs, and especially at the Emirates, we've always struggled. But listen, I go away from the game with a little bit of hope that we can do something against Sheffield United. There was enough there against Arsenal to suggest that we can get something against Sheffield United.
Definitely. I was actually impressed with our second half. It wasn't as if I was sitting there bored out of my mind. I thought, we are giving this a go. And what I was particularly impressed about was the way we pressed. We kept on them. We didn't give them a second on the ball. David Luiz, we know, is not good on the ball. He's very slow. and we pressed him into quick passing, which he's not used to doing. We know he can ping a 60-yard pass, but that's when he settles on the ball and he's got time. But I thought we pressed him really well, and Andy Carroll was just all over the pitch. Now, speaking of the sending off, Pete, I watched your quick thoughts after the game, and I did notice that you got a little bit angry about the sending off.
Oh, I did, didn't I? I think I went a bit over the top there, didn't I?
Well, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, you showed a clip on Twitter, I think it was, you put on about the Hayden tackle last year against Leicester. And, you know, when you look at those two tackles together, there wasn't much difference.
No, that wasn't, actually. It's a full-on stud challenge. And you know the rules about going in with full-on stud challenges. It's a red card all day long.
Yeah.
Whether you win the ball or not.
Well, I thought when they played it back on VAR, I thought Smith Rowe was falling backwards, wasn't he? But his stud was still up. So do you think it was a red card, James?
I 100% think it's a red card, because if the shoe's on the other foot, if Sean does that to Smith Rowe, then he's sent off. He's walking, and even if they look at VAR, then there's no way that Sean Longstaff will get a yellow card for that. The red card would stand, and he'd be away. I mean, yeah. I'm sorry to say it, but Arsenal fans would be berating for a red card if that was Sean Longstaff, and I feel like they have got off lightly. I can understand why they've given the yellow, but that's why VAR's in the game to to give decisions like that.
See, what got me was the commentator, when they were replaying the incident through and through on VAR. One of the commentators said maybe it was the noise he made that got him the red card. And I'm thinking, well, if it made that much of a noise when he clattered with him, surely the referee would understand his studs were up. Pete, I don't know, but like you put that on Twitter the other day. You put the two tackles together. You can't see much difference between the two. The studs were definitely up.
Yeah, they were. I mean, how could some other fans, Arsenal and some of fans have been saying it's not a red card? Watch the clips again. There's not much of a difference.
It's crazy. I'm going to try and bring John in one last time, see if he's managed to sort out his audio problems. John, are you there?
I am, mate.
That's better. That's much better. There's no echo now. Good evening, my friend. How are you?
Mate, I'm champion. Good evening, Paul and Pete, and good evening, James. And yeah, it's had a tough day today work-wise. You know what I mean? I got finished late, and I just got home.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm home.
Good. We're just talking about, I don't know whether you've heard a bit of the show. They're talking about the match on Saturday. What was your view of the sending off?
Well, first of all, I thought it was definitely sending off, no question about that. And then, I looked at it again and again and again. Oh, it's a tough one, really, because I just heard Pete said if the shoe was on the foot, that's Sean, he would have gone straight away, no doubt about it. Yeah. And if it was fans in the stadium, they would have waited for that to go as well. But I looked at it again and again and again. Oh, man, it looked dangerous, man. It looked a bit dangerous. As there's a yellow card, I keep saying it's a red. Oh, it's a borderline. It's got to be a borderline red. If you stud something like that sort of thing, that's dangerous player. Do you know what I mean? And he's lucky to stay on the pitch, I'm honest with you. Really.
Yeah. What did you hear the comments early on? We were talking about the Arsenal TV channels, especially AFTV, with Robbie and I think it was DT saying that they completely deserved to win that game, and it would have been an absolute travesty had Newcastle stolen at the end. I don't know where they're coming from with that, because yes, first half, but like James and Pete have said as well, the second half we were in control of that game, John.
We were in control of the game, definitely. And the first half is just Arsenal. Second half, we were much better. We had the chances from Carroll, and he should have put one of them away, and that would have probably got us through. But at this moment in time, if you don't take your chances at Arsenal, you gotta get paid the price, because you gotta get punished, and that's exactly what happened in extra time. But I'll for second half and take credit for what they've done. They gave it a right go. And going back to DT, I listen to a lot of DT on FTV. Sometimes he speaks sense, sometimes he don't. But I disagree with what he said. But the one thing I agree with him, if you listen to him, I agree that our fans are absolutely fed up, and you can understand why. The football's being played on the boost is absolutely shocking. But I disagree with what he said about controlling the game, but I do agree with the way we're playing football.
Yeah, I mean, I do watch a lot of AFTV. I do like. I think they're good lads down there, but I think sometimes they do put the blinkers on when it comes to Arsenal. James, I don't know whether you've watched them very much, but certainly the feedback from their side of the game on Saturday was just one way really, and I just really don't know how they saw it that way.
Well, first of all, I do watch Arsenal Fan TV, but I didn't actually watch anyone's reactions, to be honest. After the game, it was very controversial. I did actually put out a review, but actually took it down because I knew I'd get absolute pelters by Arsenal fans crying about, the so-called red card. So I decided not to go along with the review. I took it down, so I will say that. And I thought, you know what, just move on to the Sheffield United game, because it doesn't matter now. We're out the FA Cup. But listen, they're entitled to their opinion. Do I necessarily agree? No, I don't. But listen, it is what it is now. And I believe, in my opinion, if the shoe's on the other foot, I think that's a red card. Yeah,
I think that's what I find the beauty about football and some YouTube channels is that you have your opinions. Everybody's not going to agree with everything you say, and certainly doing YouTube channels, you find that out very quickly, and on Twitter as well. There is some head cases out there who just want to slag everything off that you say, but for me, those people don't exist anymore. I'd rather have a proper adult conversation with someone about the match, and if they disagree with something or I disagree with something, then fair enough. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But sometimes it goes a bit too far. But we're out the FA Cup. It's been and gone now. We give it a go. I think our massive game for us is obviously on Tuesday. But we've had a few comments come in, so we'll just have a look at these. John Richards, evening lads. Sorry you can't do the live stream tonight. Anyways, just want to know what are your thoughts about Nick DeMarco being at the Arsenal match? Yeah, I saw he put a few tweets out, didn't he? Any thoughts on that, James?
I think it's a good thing. It's positive. It just goes to show that there is interest there from the Saudis that they still want to buy the club, and Mike Ashley is willing to sell. I just think it can only be a good thing in terms of going forward, that talks can be positive, they can remain that way, and hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe in the next couple of months, if not the next six months at the end of the season, we can get Ashley out, we can get a takeover and move forward.
Pete, where do you stand on the transfer? On the takeover? Do you think it's going to happen, or is Nick DeMarco just sort of putting? Was there anything in that meeting on Saturday night?
I still have that suspicion about it, but with him being there, you feel like there's something going on in the background.
Something there must be, because otherwise, why would he be there? It makes no odds to say he's got a meeting with Newcastle. He has to. Something has to be going on. John, what are your thoughts on that?
I'll agree with you, Paul, mate. I definitely agree with you. There's something going on at the minute. Otherwise, this never happened. This takeover.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't believe there's a takeover going on. It's happened in the background. I think it's a great way of doing it. Instead of put it onto this flipping circus on Twitter, sort of in every day, it's going to happen. But I do believe that something is happening in the background, and hopefully, maybe in a couple of months, maybe things are concrete. But we have got to stay in the Premier League though, to do that, because if we get relegated, and I just looked at the MUSC blog, and if we get relegated and Steve Bruce takes it soon, the takeover is definitely going to be off. This is why this manager, not my manager, this manager has got to be sacked.
Yeah. I mean, I think, personally speaking, I don't really want to hear anything about the takeover until it's done, because you get so many people coming on social media saying, "Oh, there's planes took off from here, there's planes from here, and helicopters," and I'm like, Jesus Christ, that happens every day. You know what I mean? And I'd just rather everything was done behind the scenes, nothing comes out until the deal is done, and then just a massive celebration everywhere that finally Mike Ashley's gone, rather than this, is it, will it, won't it? And it just drags on and on and on, and fans get sick of it, you know what I mean? But hey-ho, we'll see what happens. Steve Bruce says he could drop in from Carl Darlow for tomorrow's chip to Sheffield United with Martin Dubravka fit. We'll come on to that later on, because we are going to talk about that. Do any of you collect football merchandise, such as programmes? Pete?
I've not collected programs for a while, but I tell you what I have been starting to collecting is the old retro kits.
Yes.
So I've got the top back from the 95, 96, 96-97 season, the black and white, and I've now got the blue and red one from the 95-6 season as well.
Yeah,
So I'm
see,
seeing those again.
that's a good idea because I want to start doing that, but I kind of fit into the damn things because they only go to an XL. And being 6'5", it's very, very difficult to try and fit into an XL these days. So I might just start collecting them to hang in like the studio area that I've got and things like that. And then maybe
actually get up to 2XL with them, actually.
Still no good for me, mate. Unfortunately. James, what about you? Any kind of football memorabilia?
I've got loads of programs. Absolutely tons of them. Yeah. They're in my room somewhere. But I've still got like old tickets and stuff. I've even got like the Europa League tickets as well from the Alan Pardew era. I've got UEFA Cup.
Wow.
I keep them. I'm a bit of a hoarder, really, when it comes to like Newcastle, because you just never know. But got scarves and all sorts, kits. I do have some, but to be honest, I've actually lost a few of them when I obviously moved home as well. So a bit gutted.
Yeah,
you never know. I might get them back in the future.
I had a few, but I moved house and they did go missing. So
it happens. I'm glad it doesn't just happen to me.
No, it happens to everyone, mate. They're probably still in my old loft, to be honest. But hey ho, the only program I think I've got in the house is Alan Shearer's testimonial against Celtic. That's the only program I've got. I did have loads, and I think I did a kind of went through a couple of months spell on eBay where I sold them off because I was getting too many. There was loads of football stuff kicking around the house, and I was getting into a bit of trouble. But never mind. John, what about you?
I'm willing to do the matches. I'm not like buy programs and stuff, but not affiliate. I used to buy one like in 2001, 2002 in the Bramall Lane era. But I just can't where I put them now, to be honest with you. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to have to fish it out and just have a look. And other than that, I haven't been collecting them at all, like, you know.
Yeah, you probably don't know you've got them until you find them. That's the thing with football memorabilia. Let's have a look. We've got Jason online again. Jason, good evening to you. He's actually put another comment here. I joked last week by saying under Bruce, we've lost every game in 2021. Guess what, guys? We're currently still losing every game in 2021. It's a terrible run we're on. I don't think is it 8 games now we've gone without a win? Or is it 7?
7.
7. I thought it was 7 or 8. I mean, still 7 really is a long stretch. We shouldn't be without a win in 7 games. And to be honest, you know, we're coming on to the Sheffield United game on Tuesday. It's absolutely massive. I mean, I've spoke about this on me preview show and things like that, talking about the Sheffield United game and how big it is. Because if Sheffield United win this game, it puts us right in the mire. That's why I think it's such a massive game, because if we come away with a draw or a defeat, surely that is it for Steve Bruce, Pete.
It has to be. I mean, we can't take any more of this rotten form we've been on. More fans are going to get restless. It's going to turn even more toxic.
Yeah.
And I think it could be a point where Steve Bruce could just give in and says, I think I've got to step away, or if I get the sack, I get the sack. Even though that's probably not going to happen. That's the thing. But honestly, a draw or defeat, he's got to be gone out of this club.
James, I put on my preview of the show on my video that I think we have to win this game convincingly for Bruce to stand a chance of actually keeping his job, with the fans. I know it doesn't matter what you think of Ashley or what he's thinking of Bruce at the minute, but for me, nothing more than a convincing win will do.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you saying that. I've actually gone for a tighter scoreline. I've went for 2-1 Newcastle because I just think it's down at Bramall Lane. Sheffield United also have that game to win as well. They haven't won all season, so we can't sort of underestimate them either, because they've got to get their first win somewhere. And I don't want us to be, the sort of Derby County of 12 years ago when Derby got their first win against us. Either way, Steve Bruce can't play 5 at the back. He's got to play 4 and he's got to go for it. But I do agree. I think we could win convincingly, but I think this time around it'll not be as convincing as what it was last season.
Well, I think it might be a nervy first 10 minutes, I think. But I think if we show the kind of desire that we showed in the second half at Arsenal, I can only see us winning the game. And, it's very rare this season that I've been able to sit and say, I think we stand a chance of winning if we play a certain way. But the question is, John, is he going to play that way, or is he just going to go back to his normal 5 at the back? We'll try and nick a goal and then win the game 1-0.
I spoke to James the other day about this, on my channel, and he thinks he's going to play 5 at the back. But in this game, he cannot afford to play 5 at the back. He has to play a 4-2-3-1. And I listened to your channel this morning, and you said that as well. He has to play 4-2-3-1, and he's got to win. Not just win well, he's got to win with style. And if he doesn't win this game, and he's going to be in huge, huge trouble. And not only that, the fans will not be happy. But the thing is now, it's a huge game for Steve Bruce's career. And if he does, again, he's got to get his tactics so right. And he must not pick Joelinton. I know you're going to talk about Joelinton later on, but he cannot play in this game, because if he does, then he's just going to be in more trouble. Because I've tried to support the guy, but 3 goals in 55 games ain't good enough. But on tomorrow's game, I don't expect us to get beat. But it's going to be very, very tight. Very tight. I'm going to say it's going to be probably like I'll go with Shaggy, 2-1. It's going to be very tight. But all I say is, if he loses tomorrow, he's done. He's got to walk away. He's done. Yeah.
See, 2 words you said there, John, that scare me: tactics and right, and Steve Bruce, all in the same sentence. It's frightening, because he doesn't seem to have a plan B. And once again, we see in his press conference, he comes out with this absolute pile of bollocks, saying that Sheffield United are a great side. They're a very, very good side. Now, what does that say to our players? You know what I mean? He's sort of, we're going there with hopefully a positive approach to the game, and then he comes out with this saying, "No, Sheffield United, they're a very, very good side. They haven't won in the league this season. They've got 2 points. How does that make them a very good side, Pete?"
Well, I like to know where he's got that from. Well, I don't think it makes anyone a good side if they've started the season off like that.
Yeah. Crazy, isn't it? Geordie, good evening. We are coming on to Joelinton a little bit later on, so do stay tuned to that. James, what do you think of Steve Bruce's comments about Sheffield United being a great side?
Copy and paste. He says it to every single press conference, every preview. They're a good side. They're a good side. Even if you're playing League One or League Two sides, they're a very good side. They're a very good side. He's pretty much downgrading our players, isn't he, when you should be giving them, the most uplift to try and get them on to win games. Now, don't get us wrong. There is no easy game in the Premier League, so I can kind of understand where he's coming from. But when you're playing up against a side that hasn't won a game all season and they've only got 2 points, then surely you need to go down there and do the damage. We've lost 7 games, already, and that's about 7 in a row. We can't afford to lose 8. And if we lose 8, that for me is it's a sackable offence. It's not just
got to be
at Premier League level. It's down the board.
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, I've stopped listening to his press conferences now, because they just annoy me. Whenever I hear the man speak, it's always the same crap week in, week out, and especially bigging the other teams up. I mean, I know there's you're right, there's no easy game in the Premier League, but when he gets interviewed, why not for once come out and say, "Oh yeah, we're going down there, we've got a really good attitude, we played really well in the second half at Arsenal, we're going down there for 3 points, and 3 points and nothing else will do." It put a bit of passion into the players, because they'd be sitting watching that thinking, well, he doesn't really believe in us. He doesn't believe that we can go down there and get a result. It's always if we're lucky or we hope. It annoys me. John, what do you think?
Do you know what it is, Paul? You're 100% right in everything you see, to the words out of my mouth. It's so repetitive every single time. I have to do the press conference action. I just do one for about 11 minutes or so. Do you know what I mean? And I'm thinking to myself, is it worth me doing it now? Is it really worth us doing the press conference action? Do you know what I mean? But I enjoy doing it. It's for the viewers, But back on Boost, right? I mean, the players who listen to that and thinking, is he really gonna give the players confidence?
Yeah.
That's what he's doing. Definitely not. Chris Wilder will be listening to that and be thinking, hey, you know what? We could beat these, He's bigging our team up. He's talking us if they're Real Madrid.
I think Steve Bruce's press conferences do exactly that, John. I think they actually give the opposition, that gets them fired up. Because for me, I mean, if I look back to my ice hockey days, if my coach came in and said that to me, or said that to us before we went out there for a match, it would deflate us. We'd be completely deflated. Think, well, hang on a minute, he doesn't have any faith in what we're doing or what we're trying to do. You know, and this is what I mean about the senior players need to take a bit of ownership here and start. Maybe he's telling Steve Bruce that, you know, he needs to start thinking about his team first and then the opposition, and actually saying to the press, who he'll know that the fans watch these press conferences or listen to them. So why doesn't he come out and give the fans a bit of positivity, Pete?
Yeah, that's what you want from your manager. You just don't want this thing coming up and says, oh, well, we're going to try and do this and do that. I mean, it's just like, well, I've kind of stopped watching these press conferences now. I'm just, I just kind of bear to listen to the man speak anymore because the amount of rubbish he's coming out with now.
Yeah. James, do you think he should be more positive in press conferences, or is he trying to cover his own arse in these press conferences?
I think he's got to be a bit more positive. You know, he's got to believe in the players that he's got, because they are the players that are going to keep him his job. You know, they're going to get him over the line in terms of where we are in the Premier League. Remember the remit, it's to stay in the Premier League. Now, I actually listened to Chris Wilder's press conference today, and he basically said, I'm not worried about Newcastle. I'm not worried about any side. And he was asked about, well, you know, you've still got 22 games to play. He goes, I'm not fussed. At the end of the day, I don't change how I play my football. It's always to be positive, and it's always to get out there. And he believes tomorrow that they're going to go out there and get 3 points. And if I'm Steve Bruce, and if you're saying that, you know, about our players, and Chris Wilder's G'd up his players, I think you would be very concerned. And I think tomorrow, if we don't get a good start, I'm very concerned. And that's why, again, I've gone for, you know, quite a close game, because I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park. In Sheffield United won't make it easy for us. I think tomorrow it's going to be a very expansive game. I really do.
It's just, for me, games like this, the lads need to go out with fire in the bellies and actually, you know, bleed blood. You know what I mean? It's one of them games that you want to see your team go out there and just destroy the opposition, because they're lacking so much confidence. Yes, they beat Bristol Rovers in the FA Cup, but that's not exactly going to bolster the confidence in the Premier League. For me, they've got to go out from the word go and just attack. But whether we see that or not is Steve Bruce, isn't it? That's the problem. Let's have a look at some of the comments that have come in. We've got Retro NUFC. Hello, mate. Hope you're doing well. Sickly Cloud says, should Anderson be given a chance against Sheffield United? For me, my personal view, and I put this on my preview video, I think Anderson should start over Joelinton, who we'll come on to shortly. I think from what I saw, young Anderson on the pitch at Arsenal, nothing seemed to faze him. His passing was good. He was good on the ball, confident on the ball. And for me, I'd rather see him up in that front three if we do play a 3 or a 4-2-3-1, whatever it may be. But I'd love to see Anderson on the left. Pete, what do you think? Do you think he should be given a chance?
Yeah, definitely should, but I've got that feeling he's not going to be starting.
Yeah, I think Steve Bruce kind of makes his mind up on these players. John, would you like to see Anderson given a chance?
I'll say yes, definitely, because he's got the confidence. He's obviously 80 years old, and he's come in and he's expressing himself as well, and doesn't fear at all whatsoever. But I think this kid's going to be destined for the very top, hopefully in Newcastle.
Yeah.
But get him in, he'll do a lot more. He's done a lot more than Joelinton has done in the Arsenal game, and I've got high hopes of this kid, you know.
Yeah,
get him in.
definitely. I agree.
Right? Give him the 70 minutes or whatever sort of thing, and then if we're winning comfortably, then take the guy off sort of thing, say you've done a good job, kid. But Steve Bruce has got to let him express themselves.
Yeah.
And no,
definitely.
Just attack.
James, what's your thoughts on Anderson?
I completely agree with what you said about the lad. He brings a lot of energy, doesn't he? Very like Matty Longstaff. Nothing fazed him against Arsenal. And to be fair, could have scored. Very unlucky. In terms of the game against Sheffield United, I wouldn't start him, but I'd definitely give him 20 minutes, half an hour, you know, in the second half, see where the game's at. Maybe bring on Dwight Gale and Anderson, see what happens. And because we know Callum Wilson's got a slight injury, but he most likely will start tomorrow. I've actually gone with Callum Wilson and Andy Carroll. But listen, I think second half, why not just throw him in the deep end? Because if he's going to learn, why not learn in the Premier League?
Yeah. See, I'd agree with you there, James, on Carroll and Wilson up front. I think the amount of problems they could cause, providing they were given the right ammunition. You know, I think Carroll could win headers, and we know how switched on Callum Wilson is to any loose ball in the area. you know, those flick-ons and knockdowns that Carroll could win for Wilson would be so crucial. But I'll never see Steve Bruce going 2 up top. I didn't see Rafa going 2 up top. You know, it seems to be a dying breed going 2 up front. I think Sheffield United have tried it a few times this season. Fulham have tried it. It doesn't come off for certain teams, but when you've got a man the size of Carroll who can win so many balls in the area to knock down to someone like Wilson who is absolutely electric in the box, I just think it's such a possibility. Pete, do you think Bruce would ever go with 2 up front?
Well, he has some of the time. That's the thing. I know he did at the start of the season.
Yeah.
I think he's looking away from it now. I think the formation I think's best for us is 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, I'd agree, because I think Miggy's got to play in a number 10 role. He's got to be given a few games back in that number 10 role where we know he is that kind of player. He links up, and he's the type of player that can pick the ball up from the midfield and drive at their defence. And he's not getting an opportunity to do that because he's been played out of position so many times, which does my head in. I feel sorry for Miggy. He's getting a lot of slack. He's getting a lot of flack from the fans, certain fans anyway. But for me, there's definitely a player there, and he just has to be given his proper role so we can see that come to fruition. We said this on the show last week, towards the back end of last season, before the lockdown. You know, he was scoring goals. He was combining with ASM. He was combining with Joelinton in a way. You know, so for me, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Geordie says, if I can get it on the screen, Arsenal never got into first gear. I think they did. I have to disagree with that a little bit, Geordie. I think they did. I don't think Arsenal are playing very well at all this season. And judging by some of the videos I've seen with their player ratings, a lot of Arsenal fans were disappointed with certain individuals on the pitch on Saturday, even though they said they dominated the game. I think there was a few players missing for Arsenal, and I don't think they're quite where their fans think they are at the moment. They've had a couple of games where they've won, but I wasn't that impressed with them, really. James?
Yeah, I think you're totally spot on. I think looking at the Arsenal game, let's look at the first 90 minutes, okay? Arsenal had the first half, no problem. Had chances, didn't take them. Newcastle were better second half, had chances, didn't take them. However, Arsenal, we know they've got better quality in the scene, the game through in extra time and got through 2-0. Fair play to them. Yeah. But Arsenal are not where they're supposed to be. They're currently where now? 11th in the league? Somewhere like that?
Somewhere like that, yeah. They're still not in the top 10.
They're mid-table for a reason because they've got plenty of problems. I think when I look at the Arsenal fans, I think they're a little bit too over-ambitious. They need to understand where they are now as a club, and they're not the club now that are going to attract the big names anymore. They really aren't. Yeah.
I don't think the fans are accepting, like you say, where they are. They can't seem to grasp that they're not this unbeaten, almighty god of a team now. They've got a lot of rebuilding to do there, and it's going to take a while. I just wasn't that impressed with them. I mean, we play them in the Premier League again next Monday, so that's going to be interesting to see what kind of team they put out. But for me, they just weren't at the races, and we capitalised on that second half, and unfortunately couldn't grab the goal. But that happens. Jason says, "Do you think the season is over for us? No cups to play for, and the only thing we have, if anything, is an oncoming relegation battle under Bruce." John.
It's definitely over for the cup game, but we're definitely in a relegation battle. No question about that. If you look at the league table, right? If you look at the teams below, Brighton, Burnley, West Brom, Fulham, and Sheffield United, all those teams I mentioned, we got to play them away, right? Now, if we don't win those games, right, and other teams below us picks up the points elsewhere, we're going to be in absolute mire. We're going to be in huge, huge trouble. But are we going to stay up this season? It all depends on those games. And another thing is, we got some tough games coming up, you know. We got to play Chelsea and Man U. I think it's next month. And it's not getting any easier. And another thing as well, if Callum Wilson gets injured, we are absolutely knackered.
Well, you say that, and I probably would have agreed with you this time last week. However, if Andy Carroll can play like that, if we ever lost Wilson, he's still a threat for me. I mean, you know, a lot of fans have said that he's finished, he's over, he's done with. I'm not so sure. I have to be honest, I'm not so sure he is finished. I think he's had a horrible, horrible time with injuries. That's not his fault. Yeah. I think there's an opportunity there for Carroll to still be a player. He's only, 32? I think he's got a couple of years left, and if he performs like that, I mean, he ran his heart out on Saturday, and yes, he missed the chances, but I actually give him a 9 out of my play ratings, and I would have given him a 10 had he scored, because I thought defensively he was superb, helping out the back 4, back 5 at times, and then he was just all over the pitch. But I don't know. Everybody will have their opinion on Andy Carroll, but I agree. I think we're in a relegation battle. Steve Bruce said today we're not, but I don't take anything he says for granted these days. Stephen Renforth, good evening to you. Hi, guys. There's big news on the 17th of January about the takeover and what you think of the Burnley takeover. James, we know that the Burnley takeover has been hit and miss for a while, but it seems to have gone a lot quicker than ours did. I haven't heard anything about the 17th of January. I'm not sure whether you have.
That's the first I've heard of the 17th of January, to be honest. I wouldn't know anything. But in terms of the Burnley takeover, I think it's on a different scale. They've been crying out for investment for a long time. And I think Sean Dyche, as I've mentioned in my actual videos, how he manages to get the best out of that side and keep them in the Premier League. They've got a good attitude. I think he's a good manager. Very underrated, I would say, in this league. But now it's not the time to be focusing on Burnley. We need to focus on ourselves. We need to look at ourselves as a club in terms of how we go forward. And if this takeover is to come to fruition, then hopefully, fingers crossed, something comes off in maybe the next couple of months. If not, as mentioned before, the next 6 months. Yeah,
we definitely need it. We definitely do. Pete, have you heard anything about this 17th of January? Because 17th of January is a Sunday, which would seem very strange for massive news to come out.
No, I've not heard anything about it. It's what you call take it with a pinch of salt and see what happens on the day, really.
Stephen, if you put another comment down below asking, just telling us where this information's come from the 17th of January, because John, have you heard anything about this day?
I agree with James. That's the very first time I heard of this, the 17th of January. Like I said, I'm just going to wait and see when it's confirmed, because, like I said earlier on, it's getting a bit boring now. Do you know what I mean? But we definitely need to take over, because if we get this takeover, we can go out and celebrate, and then I can go to do live streams on the matches as well, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't get a takeover, our club's going to be in complete and utter limbo, because we're going absolutely nowhere. And like, actually, 14 years we had him for. It's 14 years. And let's be real. I mean, we're going absolutely nowhere. And lads, we definitely need to take over sooner rather than later. But go back on the 17th there. Not heard of it. First I heard of it.
We'll see what happens with that. Geordie, realistically, do you think the board will sack Bruce after tomorrow's match if we don't get all 3 points? My opinion is I think he should be sacked if we don't get 3 points tomorrow. I think he should be sacked immediately after the game, quite frankly. We said this last week as well, and I've said it on my videos as well, that I just don't think Mike Ashley can risk this any longer than he has to. Because of what happened with McLaren when we went down. He waited too long to pull the trigger with him, and then it was too late for Rafa to save us. With Steve Bruce, we are going the same way, and every single fan seems to be able to see this. And I think if we don't get 3 points against Sheffield United, we are in the relegation battle without a shadow of a doubt, because Fulham have got games in hand. Burnley are starting to play, and these teams will pick up points, James.
100%. You know, we're still only halfway into the season, or coming towards halfway into the season. And I think 99.9% of the fan base know if we don't get 3 points tomorrow, anything less than Steve Bruce should go. I think the board should do the right thing and let him go and give somebody else a chance who's going to come in and, you know, use their own philosophy and, you know, get Newcastle playing, get with more forward, get with further up the field and play, you know, and work the goalkeeper. Because that's been our problem, you know, the final third. Yes, we can defend all right at times, but that's been our Achilles heel. But in terms of the board, you can never really quite read Mike Ashley and Lee Charnley and how they operate, because we could lose tomorrow, but then they'll think, well, as long as we're just above 18th place, they'll keep that. They'll keep Steve Bruce and think, do you know what? He's done all right in the cups, and the fans are just calling out for no reason. Even as well, you've got to take the pandemic into consideration as well. Is Mike Ashley really going to fork out, you know, the takeover as well? And I think John mentioned if, you know, we get relegated, it could have a massive effect on the takeover. I do agree with that to an extent. However, even if we go down, the price will go down, but it will also then open offers to other buyers who want to, you know, take over Newcastle, because we still are an attractive football club.
Definitely.
But is he going to get 300 million though in the championship?
I think in my opinion, he's going to have to lower his offer, but he's going to have to take it. You know, he only bought the club for, what was it, 134 million, Whatever he gets over that is profit. So for me, if he's really, really bothered about selling Newcastle, then he's got to take, nigh on the closest offer.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree. Stu, good evening to you. Bruce's media friends can't possibly defend him any longer if we lose this game. They still will. It doesn't matter if we lose this game 3-1, 3-0. They will still support him because they don't see the situation that's going on at Newcastle. They just see Steve Bruce getting results this season by the skin of his teeth for us, but not to them. It's all Bruce's tactical masterclass and everything like that. It's ridiculous. So I don't think we'll ever have a pundit who will not be there in support of Bruce. Talk Sport love the bloke. I mean, they never stop talking highly about him. Really does my head in. So I think we're all agreed that really it doesn't matter. Bruce's media friends are always going to be there, no matter what. Geordie says, would you take someone like Duncan Ferguson or Steve Harper on an interim basis until the takeover is sorted out? Pete?
That's a good one. Good question.
Yeah.
Steve Harper, I'm not too sure. Duncan Ferguson, possibly. I mean, has he took interim charges before?
Yeah, he's been in charge of Everton.
Yeah. Maybe I would give someone like Duncan Ferguson, but no, Steve Harper, I don't think is nowhere near ready for that.
I think Steve Harper's too quiet to do that kind of job and to get us out the mire. Yeah. Duncan Ferguson, for me, would be perfect because he has passion. Talk about passion. He has got it in boatloads. James, I think you mentioned Duncan Ferguson last week when we did the transfer stuff. I think he'd be fantastic. And if it wasn't an interim basis, I think he'd only come if he knew there was a job for him long term. He wouldn't leave Everton just to come for us for a couple of months.
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't go for Duncan Ferguson. I did mention it last week, but I've kind of had a U-turn. I'm actually looking at somebody like Nigel Pearson, who I think did a decent job at Watford. And I think he's got a connection with the club as well. And I think he could definitely steady the ship. And if you are looking for a short term, then okay, give him the short term basis, but then maybe look at giving him a job somewhere in some sort of capacity if a takeover goes through and try and bet him in that way. But I think he would be your better option, in my opinion.
Do you think the fans would be happy with Pearson? I mean, personally speaking, I would be because I know the kind of man he is. He takes no crap for one, and I think he'd get the best out of the players.
Sorry, not John. That's the reason why, Paul, I would go for Pearson because I think he's got a bit of everything, and I think he proved it with Watford that I think he has definitely improved since his media spat when he was Leicester manager, and I've seen enough there to suggest that he could do a decent job.
Well, let's not forget when Pearson was at Leicester before he got fired in really controversial circumstances because he dragged them out the crap. If you remember, they were relegation fodder up until. Well, it was after Christmas, wasn't it? And then suddenly he got them out of the mire. And if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't have won the championship. They wouldn't have been Premier League champions. I still think they would have gone down. So they wouldn't have even had that opportunity. But Ferguson is he wouldn't leave Everton for me. That's the thing, unless he knew there was a long-term job there. So, but you're right about Pearson. Pearson is a good shout, definitely. Kieran, good evening to you. We have to win the game tomorrow. If we don't win tomorrow, then Bruce definitely has to go. I think we all agree about that without a shadow of a doubt. Geordie says Bruce played 5 at the back against Sheffield United last season. He did, but the difference is Sheffield United were a different animal last season. Really nobody knew how to play them. Peter?
Yeah, I mean, it's Sheffield United were at top half of the table then, weren't they?
Yeah.
And this season they've been absolutely all over the place. So I would definitely not go 5 at the back tomorrow. No chance.
Yeah. What do you think's gone wrong at Sheffield United, John, when you look at them last season to this season?
I spoke to a Sheffield United fan last night online.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
And basically, for me, if I'm honest with you, Over had a wonderful season last season. I think they've been found out this season because they know how to play them. That is the thing. Because the second season, so it's going to be tough for them. Second season syndrome. But I think they've been pretty much found out. And also, they've got championship players. Look, they've done a wonderful job getting up from League One to the Premier League. But and they put the heart out and set that. But I think, like I said, they've been found out, and the players just can't give any more. If you see what I mean. I mean, Chris Wilder's a good manager, don't get us wrong. Yeah. But he has spent a lot of money. Look at the place he bought. Ramsdale, 18 million from Bournemouth, yeah? Mm-hmm. You got that Norwegian lad, Bergen, don't know a lot about him, but I heard he's very good. 22 million, something like that. They have spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it seems that they're just not fitting in. Well, this season, that's at the bottom of the table. Scoring goals is a problem as well. And they haven't got a focal point up top.
Mm-hmm.
So
some of the players that he's got, some of the signings just haven't clicked for him. And it's just not kicked into gear. But that might be for our benefit, really. Geordie says Derby 07 and 08 all over again. I think that's what you're frightened about, James. You've mentioned that a few times. We all know what happened with that derby. Had never won a game, and then they played us and beat us. But hopefully not tomorrow. Pray to God. Liam says Kevin Keegan and Bobby Robson wouldn't treat Sheffield United like they are Atletico Madrid. Yeah. This is what gets me. We've discussed this. Bruce is really just bigging up every single team he plays against. I mean, he even said the same about Morecambe and Newport. You know what I mean? And it's like, just actually come out with a bit of positivity for once. Geordie says Steve Bruce bigs up the opposition in his press conferences, etc. And what he does, what does he say behind the scenes to the players? I don't think he'll say any different, Pete.
No, I agree. I don't think he'll say any different as well.
It just baffles me, James, as to why he has to big teams up. Why can't he concentrate on us?
Well, this is it. I mean, I've mentioned it before. The players that he's got at his disposal are very good players, by the way. I just think that he's coached by a better coach, not Steve Bruce. Steve Bruce, for me, doesn't even belong in the Premier League, and I think he should have left months ago. But listen, it's the board that we've got. But just to quickly elaborate on Sheffield United and the problems, and I mentioned it in my preview, I think the reason why they're struggling, first of all, the fans aren't there. So they've struggled ever since the project restart. If you remember, we beat them 3-0.
We gave them a hiding, didn't we? Yeah.
And then the other one for me, and I think if I'm Chris Wilder, I'd change the formation. They play this 3-5-2 formation, 3 at the back, and that 3 centre backs are not the quickest. If they're going to change their season around, they're going to have to play maybe a 4 at the back, 4 midfield, or even a 4-4-2. You mentioned, Paul, how 4-4-2 is dying out. That might just sit them down to the ground if they can bring in some players. So, listen, I'm not Chris Wilder, but if from the outside looking in, with the goals that they've conceded and they don't score enough up front, change things around, experiment.
See, that's what I mean. I mean, 4-4-2 suits certain teams, doesn't it? And you look at Sheffield United and us to an example. I think 4-4-2 would suit us because of the players we've got. But Bruce will never, for me, Bruce will never do it because he will never experiment like that. He's too frightened to. He hasn't got the balls to do it.
Paul, the thing is, though, can I just say we can't afford tomorrow to go 5 at the back against Sheffield United. We really can't. We've got to get at them from the minute one.
Totally agree. I mean, if I see that team sheet, it's 5 at the back. There will be an angry video, even if we win. I'm on John's watch along tomorrow, and I'll just be like this. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Don't worry. I'll so you'll know for certain if I'm in an angry mood by the comments you'll get from me. Put it that way. Right, we've got Jason again. It says Keegan, obviously his quotes. So Bobby will fight to the very end. Rafa, we can only get better and better. Bruce, we'll roll our sleeves up and get relegated. This is the attitude. That's another thing that really bothers me as well. Roll our sleeves up. We'll try. Yeah. Why not just get at them? Yeah. This is the point. Everybody, I say this week after week on my videos that he comes out, we'll roll with sleep. I hate that. You can see I'm getting riled up when already just even thinking about, I just think it's ridiculous because the Newcastle fans just sit there and must actually curdle up like, I don't know, like sour milk when they hear him. You have to laugh. You honestly have to laugh. It's ridiculous. Honestly, I cannot stand the man. As soon as he says, it's like a volcano's erupting in my chest. I just want to leap into the television and shake the man. Just say, we've got to come out.
Can I say something, guys, as well?
Yeah.
When Rafa Benitez left the club, when Steve Bruce's name was mentioned, right, he's maybe to get the Newcastle job. Do you know what? I just nearly collapsed. I said, please do. It broke my heart.
It came out of the blue, didn't it?
Mentioned. Yeah.
Totally came out of the blue.
And when he resigned from Sheffield Wednesday, after what they've done for him, right, he should have stayed at Wednesday, right, for a season or so, for what they've done for him, and to walk out the club, like that. And Colin Jones, I think that's a stab on the back for Wednesday fans. Yeah, it really is. And when we were watching Newcastle, I thought, you know what? That's me done. I'm done. And
well, you know what it is, John, to be honest. Yeah, to be honest, I'm not really feeling sorry for Sheffield Wednesday fans at all, because look what he's doing to there's no way they would have him back. Not a chance in hell. And, you know, they are the lucky ones by the fact that he's not their manager anymore. And I know they've had problems with the managers the last few months, but to be honest, you know, they got rid of Bruce and we ended up with him. So that's annoying in its own.
There's better managers out there, though. You could have got.
Oh, God,
I would take a chance on Thomas Frank from Brentford. He plays lovely football.
Yeah, there's loads of managers out there who play good football. It's just one of them things.
This guy.
Yeah, I know. Geordie says, did you ever come up against David Longstaff in your ice hockey days, Paul? I did. I came up against him and I also played alongside him. I said this on last week's show that I'm very apprehensive about saying anything about Sean and Matty sometimes, but I have to be honest on my videos. You know, that's what I do. That's why I have to be honest, and I'm sure he'd understand that. I've played and known David for a very long time. Knew Sean and Matty when they were little. So do go back a long way with David. But as Premiership footballers, they have to understand that criticism will come their way if they're not playing well enough. And people know me and know me to be 100% honest, wear my heart on my sleeve. So it doesn't matter whether I know them or not. If they're not playing very well, then I'll say it. And, you know, Sean hasn't played well lately. And I think one person that will know that more than anybody is Sean himself. And he'll want to get better. There's no doubt about it. He was improving massively under Rafa, but like a couple of these players that play for Newcastle United, they've been bruised, completely bruised. And, you know, it's such a shame because a lot of them were coming on a long, long way under Rafa and have gone seriously backwards. But now we come on to this guy, who I know is, you know, not a big favourite with quite a few of us. Pete, come on. Joelinton.
Oh, where do you start with him? Last season, I got so much stick from fans saying, oh, you're too hard on him. He's got no support. He's isolated up front a lot of the time. Look at now. What are you saying now? Look at the bigger picture. The game on Saturday just proved why this lad is not good enough for this football club.
Yeah.
I mean, when he gets the ball, he's very slow at taking players on. I blatantly saw that against Arsenal. He's slow to get on the end of things.
Yeah.
As well. Not to mention that chance he had in the first half where he completely hesitated. He should have took it on his left foot, and there's a chance he could have put that in. Hesitated. Arsenal go and clear the danger. And he's gone absolutely way backwards again.
It really annoyed me in that when he was bringing that ball forward and he had Carroll and Almer on either side of him, you know, his brain doesn't work quick enough, and it's not his fault. And I've said on my recent videos, it's not about the price tag with me anymore. It's just his ability. He's just not good enough. You know, whoever negotiated the price tag has got a wonderful deal out of that, has made a lot of money from it, and we've ended up with absolute rubbish. And James, I know you've got your opinion on Joelinton as well.
Yeah, Joelinton just hasn't lived up, you know, to expectations of the Premier League. He hasn't lived up to the number 9, and I still stand by it today.
Yeah,
he should never have been given the number 9. I would have actually given it to Callum Wilson because he's a natural goal scorer. He scores goals for a living. That's his tag. That's his title. And see, I look at Joelinton. I think his decision making's awful at times, and he's that slow. Right? I wouldn't even play at left wing anymore. I wouldn't play him up front. I play him at centre back.
Yeah.
The best he could do. Honestly, I'm sorry to say it's the best he could do. Otherwise, for me, do you know what the club need to do? What West Ham did with Haller. Yes, he scored a good goal, and probably the goal of the month. I think it was for a few months ago, but now. But they took him to Ajax. They took a loss. Mike Ashley won't take a loss because we know how greedy he is. But for me, you either take a loss or you send him out on loan in the Championship. And if he can't do anything in the Championship, then there's your point proven.
I mean, John, I know you were willing to give the guy a chance, and you've said that a few times over the months. But I think with Joelinton, I don't like the way he loses the ball and he doesn't fight for it back. I don't like the way he gets the ball and he just does not know what to do with it. And I just don't understand these supporters. Again, it's their opinion and they're perfectly entitled to it. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. However, I cannot understand anybody that looks at Joelinton and says there is a player there, because when he was up front on his own, everybody was saying, "Oh, move him to the left-hand side in a front three." We've done that, and he still doesn't look a player. The only world he scored was against Morecambe, which is probably his level.
League, but they're League Two though. That they're awful.
Exactly, and he just cannot do it against the Premiership kind of players. He just simply can't. And he gets the ball, he doesn't know what to do with it. He can't control the ball. It just bounces off him. His first touch is awful. And John, I know he's riled you up a few times, and this is why I said Anderson should probably replace him for the Sheffield United game. But do you think Bruce will start him tomorrow?
Well, if he starts him tomorrow, then I'll be absolutely furious. I mean, I'll do that live watch along with James tomorrow, and I'll tell him the same thing. But the Premiership at its level, it's not in the Premier League. I think it's weak. It's, like I said, his control and it's poor. I think his decision making is wrong. He doesn't fight for the ball. You cannot trust him in a relegation dogfight. You just cannot. I've tried my best to give him the confidence, but
yeah.
I hate to say this, right? People, I agree with what Pete said earlier on. Someone told us to pay off the other day because I slagged them off. Yeah, I want that very same person who told us to pay off, right, to apologise to us, but he won't, because I am right. He ain't good enough for Newcastle, right? He's weak. His control is poor. He's slow. I think he had too many Christmas turkeys over Christmas, I think, if I'm honest with you. But at the end of the day, right, we might as well call him not Joelinton, I'll call him Slow Linton.
That's what I've been saying since the season.
Yeah, I'll put that on
there. Jim, this guy cannot play for Newcastle.
Can I just say something on Joelinton, right? Can we not just do a position swap with him and Kieran Clark, because Kieran Clark's actually scored more Premier League goals than him this season, and he's actually a threat. Like, Joelinton is not a threat, and Kieran Clark is. So maybe you play Joelinton at centre back, as I've said, and put Kieran Clark up front. Something might actually give.
Kieran Clark looks a lot more threatening up front than
he does. Something might give.
Yeah. Right.
And just come on to Joe. Just come to right. You just answer your question to Joelinton. If he gets picked tomorrow, and we don't win that game, and he doesn't put a shift in, let me tell you something. I am gonna cuss him, right? He ain't good enough for the Premier League. He ain't good enough for Newcastle United. Yeah, he ain't good enough for this team. And if we're in a relegation dogfight, we want 11 players who's gonna have the passion, roll the sleeves up, and give it a right go.
You sound like Steve Bruce there. You sound like Steve Bruce there when you roll your sleeves up. You sound like Steve Bruce. Roll your sleeves up.
Roll the sin bin for 5 minutes. See you later. Yeah, that's enough for him for now. Thank you very much. We'll bring John back in about 5 minutes when he's served his penalty.
Sorry, Paul. I had to put that in there. You sound like Steve Bruce when he said that. Roll your sleeves up.
Did. That's why I said it. As soon as he said it, my earphones went like that, man. Oh God. Anyway, Stephen's come back and said he heard the 17th of January on the Steve Wraith show on YouTube. I don't know. I don't know. You know, they may know something. I'm not going to sit here and say they don't know, because I've listened and watched that show quite a few times. Some of the stuff they've been right on, some of the stuff they haven't. But I know Steve Wraith does a lot for the fans over the lockdown. He's done a lot for the club. I personally don't have anything against Steve Wraith at all. I think a lot of fans have been disgusting towards him. That's my personal opinion. I think, you know, he put on a Newcastle show on YouTube during the lockdown, which a lot of people came on to watch. And I thought he's done a fantastic job with that. And some of the guests he get on are brilliant. I love the ladies' night he does and things like that. So, you know, everybody does their bit. And if Steve has had on his show that something's happening on the 17th, well, we'll just have to find out, won't we? Because, you know, we'll see if anything comes about that. But anyway, we'll bring Funny Bugger back in. Here he is. Any more of that and you're out. I'm telling you.
I'm on a yellow card, yeah.
Well, yes. John, it was me that caught the comment. I mean, come on. You don't say that. Not roll your sleeves up. None of that.
None of that.
I mean, if he
Sick of hearing that every single weekend we do the complete polar opposite.
If you say that again, you're going to be starting getting known as John Roll Your Sleeves Up Sinclair, and that will not be a good name for you. My God. Anyway, Lawrence the Geordie.
Like Claude.
You will get a red card for any more roll your sleeves up business, I tell you. Lawrence the Geordie says, I'd leave Takeover news until something notable happens and focus on supporting the team. Exactly. That's what I said before. I think it just should be done in the background. And if it gets complete, it gets complete. We'll rattle through some of these comments. If we don't get a Takeover, I no longer want us in the Premier League because we don't do anything. You know, that's a thing. You know, we haven't got any ambition at the minute. So if the Takeover doesn't go through, where do we go from there? It's frightening. Eric Bryson, good evening to you. Problem is, it probably makes the Takeover easier to get done in the Championship rather than the EPL. Ashley doesn't care if we stay up or not. It depends on the money, to be honest, Eric. I mean, you know, James, you've said it before. If it's a profit, it's a profit. And I think if we go down, yes, it's a lot easier to get the Takeover done and dusted, but if we go down, I don't think we're coming straight back. James.
No. I've said this before. I think the Championship's getting ever so more competitive now, and I think that's actually down to the Premier League's parachute payments. If you look at some of the clubs who go down, they don't get back up straight away. But the thing is now there's a massive gap between, you know, the clubs who've never been in the Premier League. For example, Preston, you know, they've obviously got a bit of money coming in from the Sky deal, but if you look at the gulf and class between Championship and League One now with a wage cap, it's tougher. But yeah, I do agree. I think if we go down to the Championship, Newcastle are going to be, you know, the sort of Man United, if you like. And I don't want to disrespect all the other clubs in there, like Forest and Sheffield Wednesday and whatnot. But Newcastle are the bigger club in that division. So yeah, we don't have a divine right to go back up if we go back down.
Yeah, there's just a couple of comments coming in about who would come in as manager if we sacked Steve Bruce. I think we've discussed this in depth in the last show, as well as I know some of you guys on your channels, you've done it as well. I think Eddie Howe's a very popular opinion with people. But I think, personally, James, the name you've mentioned tonight, Nigel Pearson, for me, would be the guy to step in and certainly steady the ship. I think he's a disciplinarian as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say with Pearson, especially if it's the sort of short term until the end of the season, just to get a bit of respect back, you know, with the squad that we have. I'm sure they play for him. It's just Steve Bruce. I mean, if anything, I don't want to hear Steve Bruce's press conferences or just anything with Steve Bruce anymore. If I'm honest, I think honestly he's like one of them closet managers, isn't he? Just jumps out every now and again for a different job, but like Sam Allardyce, you know, these Roy Hodgson. It's just
it's a dinosaur club, really. I mean, these guys are past it. We know they are, but they're still just hanging on by the skin of their teeth. I mean, Jason there says, stats don't lie. We're 20th in the stats. We should be higher, and in first in the stats, and we should be lowering. Why don't the pundits state the fact to Bruce on live TV? Do you think they are too scared? I just think it's an old pals club. I really do. I think there's a lot of these pundits, the older ones anyway, who will not say anything about Steve Bruce. However, I don't know whether you guys noticed at half time in the Leicester game, there was a bit of a crack. But, you know, Roy Keane and Graham Souness both said something derogatory about Steve Bruce's tactics, and the fans must be getting fed up of watching this football. It was very poor. I just think the pundits might look at themselves now, Pete, and start thinking, we look an absolute arse when we're giving credit to Steve Bruce when the team's playing like this.
Yeah, I mean, like some of these pundits that have been backing this manager we've got, it's just unbelievable. Not to mention the likes of Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton pretty much doing it on Twitter every time. I mean, it goes back to after the draw against Fulham. And they were saying like Newcastle about 3 points off a European spot.
Yeah.
I went ballistic when I was doing my play ratings in that video. Surely these pundits have got to see that he's doing an awful job. Where's the improvement?
And it just annoys you whenever you hear now a pundit come on and praise him. It's annoying, John.
I'll tell you what, I just wish they'd come out and be honest, like our fans. But you got people like Sutton, Savage, Lawrenson, Merson, all those people speaking up Bruce if they're poor. But one thing I would say, if Steve Bruce at a top club, like the top 6 club, and he did a job the way he did at Newcastle, would the same pundits be bigging them up? I doubt it very, very much.
Yeah, we all know the answer to that. We all know that they wouldn't. James, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I just think with Steve Bruce getting all this credit, I don't think he is doing a good job, because if he was doing a good job, then he would exceed expectations. He wouldn't be talking about the remit of just staying in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I'm even a head coach, or because nowadays they're all head coaches, they're not classed as managers anymore. I'd want to exceed expectations. I don't care if I was managing a smaller club or a big club. My plan would be to get the very best out of the squad that I've got, to get the very best out of the club that I'm managing, and even the facilities, even if they're bog standard facilities, you want to get the best out of the players to improve them. And I just think I can't stick up for most of the pundits. I mean, Roy Keane, I don't particularly like the guy, but he does come across very well in punditry. I think he's very good at what he does. Yeah. But, when you come to the likes of Savage and whatnot, I mean, these are the sort of pundits I probably watch once every 3 months. Do you know what I mean? They don't watch it every week. And if you have to watch that every single week, surely with most of these pundits that are backing, Steve Bruce, after a week of watching Newcastle, even if you watch 2 games a week, that's enough to tell you that the football is drab.
Yeah, Savage makes me laugh. The way he talks about tactics or how teams should play. He wasn't exactly a masterful footballer. You know what I mean? And people like that just do my head in. If you were to take away the goals that Wilson has scored for us in the Premier League season, then we'll be 18th on 11 points instead of 15th on 19 points. Exactly. That just sums it straight up.
You've got to give Darlow a bit of credit as well for that, because if it was for Darlow's saves as well, I think we'd lose more games than we win.
Definitely, which we are coming on to in the final bit of the show. I'll just get through these comments and then we'll have a look at that. Aaron Ramsdale instead of Dean Henderson. Well, Henderson was on loan from Man United, wasn't he? So he didn't want to go back there on loan for a 3rd season. So I think that's why they brought Ramsdale in down there. Tom Hardman says, don't know about you lot, but I think tomorrow's game could be 0-0, 1-1, or if NUFC are at it, then 3-1 with Wilson's 2 goals, hopefully. We can only pray, Tom. We can only pray and see how it all depends on what that lineup is. When that lineup comes out at 5 p.m., is it a 6 p.m. kickoff, isn't it?
6.
Yeah.
So the teams will come out at 5. So I'll either be in a blind rage by 5 or quite positive. So we have to wait and see. Steve Bruce is a bottom half Championship League One manager, without a doubt. Truls Hagen Christensen says Bruce out. See, Malcolm MacDonald had a pop at Bruce stating Wilson not being used up front. Malcolm MacDonald is not stupid when it comes to talking about players up front, and he knows that he's not being used to the best of his abilities. Bruce knows as much of attacking football as I can die for pearls. Fair enough. Yeah, class. Fans from clubs like Sheffield Wednesday and Sunderland wouldn't take him back. Well, that says it all. Given Sunderland's position at the minute, they wouldn't have him back, and they're in League One. That's how bad of a manager he is. Shearer told Bruce not to take the job. Whether he did or he didn't, I don't know. But I think Shearer would have told him not to take the job, because Shearer knows that Bruce is an absolute pile of crap. Pete Hill says, properly agree with you. TalkSport love Bruce. Yep, undoubtedly. Joelinton, the Brazilian Riviere. There you go. Somebody sent me a private message the other day asking what I thought, whether Riviere was better than Joelinton. And if it came to the crunch, who would I take over the 2? And I said Riviere, because I can't go for Joelinton in any situation. I mean, give us Frank Pindle over bloody Joelinton. This is how bad it's got. You know what I mean?
Paul, can I just say something about Riviere? He still plays football. Where is he playing? He plays in Italy with Cotone.
Yeah. He does. So you still see him play a bit?
He's savvy, but not the same player. He's not the same. He's not going to get a lot of goals. He played in 2nd division last season with Cosenza in Serie A B. Yeah. And then he moved to Cotone on a 2-year deal. So just to let you guys know, he still plays football in Italy with Cotone. So
thanks for that vital piece of information, John. You're having an absolute cracking night tonight. Jules says, with better players around Joel, I think he would vastly improve. Now, I'm not saying it. Anybody else?
I just don't know how Joelinton improves.
Pete?
No, I can't see Joelinton progressing even with better players around him.
Never mind. Ryan, our REIT lads. How are you doing, Ryan? Nice to see you on the watching. Jason says, don't get me started with Joelinton. The problem is for Joelinton, he's got this name where he can put so many things before his name. Just the slow Linton, Joelinton. There's all sorts going on at the minute on social media with his name. For a guy of this size and build, he goes down too easy, can't score to save his life, disrespecting the number 9 and should never have been given the holy number. We know he should never have been given number 9, but what's worse is he should never have kept the number 9 when Callum Wilson signed. I know Wilson said he didn't mind having the number 13. I don't care what anybody says. He would love to have that number 9 shirt. I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Anyway,
I think you'll get it next season. I'm 100% sure of that.
Yeah, I reckon so as well. Right, guys, it's now time for a conversation regarding, and I'll be very interested to see what you guys think of this. These two. Now, for me, Darlow starts tomorrow. I just can't see any rhyme or reason why Darlow gets dropped. I think he's been absolutely fantastic this season. He's won us points. He's saved us in games that really we shouldn't have got anything from. And there was something on Twitter earlier on today saying that some guy was saying that, Dubravka, though, is our number 1. And Darlow will have been told when he started the season that as soon as Dubravka's fit, he would be number 1. And I was like, well, hang on a minute. You can't say that as a manager. If you say that, how would Darlow feel? Doesn't matter how well he plays, he'll lose the number 1 spot. That's crazy to me. I can't see any rhyme or reason how Dubravka starts. And don't get me wrong, I love Dubravka. I think he's a fantastic keeper. But Darlow's been just as good as Dubravka this season. He hasn't put a foot wrong. James?
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you. I think when you look at Dubravka, yes, he's number 1. However, he doesn't have a divine right to get back in the side. Yes, he got minutes against Arsenal, and that's right because he has come back from an injury. But Darlow's not really put a foot wrong. I mean, I think we were all in the conversation of the summer when you were thinking Darlow's going in that. You're like, oh, really? But he's not really put a foot wrong. I think he's been brilliant. Yeah. And as mentioned before, if it wasn't for his saves, if it wasn't for the way he conducts himself, I don't think we'd be where we are in the league. With, obviously we're talking, it was 8 points clear of Fulham, something like that. We could be obviously dragged in if it wasn't for him. But no, I've actually got Darlow in my start 11 for tomorrow, and it's Darlow's shirt to lose, in my opinion.
Well, didn't Bruce say this only 7 days ago when he got interviewed after the Leicester game? I think it was the Leicester game. And he turned to the reporters and said that Karl Darlow is his number 1. You can't then, a week later, just because Dubravka's had one good game in the Cup, come back and say, right, I'm taking that number 1 shirt off you, Pete.
I was going to say, go on.
No, go on, James.
I was just going to quickly about to say, I for one, I do believe Dubravka is the better of the two, but when you're talking of form, Darlow does not deserve to lose his shirt.
Yeah, that's exactly. I'd agree exactly with that. Dubravka is the better of the two, but like you say, on form, you cannot fault Darlow at all this season. He hasn't put a foot wrong. And don't, there was a lot of Newcastle fans at the start of the season saying, "Oh Christ, we're in big trouble starting with Karl Darlow." But he's really shoved it right up everyone. Said, "Right, I'm going to prove he's wrong." And he's done exactly that.
But that's what you want, though. You want your players. It doesn't matter if it's your keeper or your centre back or your midfielder or your striker. They need to prove you wrong.
Without a doubt. Pete, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, Darlow's been fantastic. He's proved everybody wrong because there was a bit critical over him the past couple of seasons when he was starting to make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
He looks a different player completely this season. He looks like the keeper we had when we had him in the Championship in the 16-17 season when he was doing fantastically well then. Yeah.
I mean, the thing that got me was Steve Bruce even told reporters today that he doesn't know who he's going to start with. Now, how will that make Karl Darlow feel, John?
Well, and this is the same manager that said that Karl Darlow's is number 1. Well, I just don't get it at all. I mean, he just flips and flops every time, this manager. He flips and flops. But going back about the goalkeeper situation, Karl Darlow's done absolutely not wrong. I think his position should be his own because it'd be unfair for him to be dropped after all the hard work he's done. I mean, De Black is a class keeper, don't get us wrong, but it's a team game, not an individual game. You get picked on form, and Carl Dahl has been absolutely amazing this season. Yeah, De Black will have to wait. He has to be patient to get in the team.
Can I just say something on the goals that Darlow's actually conceded as well? They've not been his fault. Like, they've been like fired at him, and the defense have made a mistake. But you know, at the end of the day, keepers are going to make mistakes. But I think for the goals that were conceded, they've not really been his fault.
No, they haven't.
Not at all.
Haven't. They definitely haven't. And I think it must be unfair, because if he's turned around and said that to the reporters today, you know, has he told Carl Darlow something that we don't know? Has he said that he's going to start or not start? Because if he hasn't said anything to Carl Darlow, and Darlow sees the reports saying, oh, he doesn't know which keeper he's going to go with, that would, if I'd played that well this season and that was me reading that, I'd be devastated. I'd be gutted. Because
bad man management, that's what it is.
It's terrible. And there's no way he should be left out.
Do you know what? Go on. Do you know what it is, guys? Right? That he's not done himself any favours whatsoever. Come out and say that. And it's going to ruin people's confidence. You know what I mean? It looks like he's doing it at Darlow. He's done it a couple of other players as well.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
Steve Bruce doesn't have a clue.
He simply doesn't. And I don't think Steve Bruce, to this day, doesn't know Newcastle United's best 11. He doesn't know, because he's not tactically aware of where to put players or how to play them or get the best out of them. You know, we know that the football, you know, and I hate going back to Rafa because I know Rafa's not here anymore, but if you look like at a manager like Rafa, he knew where to put the players to get the best out of them. You know, maybe it wasn't pretty football, but he knew exactly where on the pitch they needed to be to get the best out of them and to get a result for the team. Steve Bruce does not know that. He hasn't a clue. It's like you say, James, he's clueless when it comes to organisation.
I'm sorry to say this word, Paul, but I think he's trying to get inept. I really do.
Yeah, he is. And we've said that on all our videos over the last, you could go back to the start of the season, last season. We know how inept he is. And the thing is with me, he doesn't know how to change it. And that's the worrying thing for me tomorrow night, lads, is that he goes into the game with his plan A.
He better not play honestly, he better not play 5 at the back, because if he does, then I'll tell you what it is, right? You might as well say, yeah, Sheffield, there's the win. I don't want that. I want him to go 4-4-2, tell the lads in the dressing room before the game, get at them. Get that first goal, and then not only that, double it. If you do that, he's had a good chance of getting the 3 points. Do it.
Just say to them, go out there, express yourselves, enjoy yourselves, score a few goals, and let's just show the fans what we can do. Why
Paul,
not say that?
Paul, you spoke about the Arsenal game. You talked about the second half. That's what you need to say. He goes, you know what? He's proven that he can match up against Arsenal, who are not having the best of seasons, but they're still classed as the top 6 club by the media. Yeah. If you can put that performance in the second half into Sheffield United, if you can grab that early goal, then the sky's the limit. As you mentioned, go and express yourself. There you go. Go and get the 3 points. Go and do it for the supporters. We're 7 without a win. Get 3 points here, then it could really kick you on for the rest of the season. Yes, the season looks done, and it is done as far as I'm concerned, but give the supporters something to shout about between now and the end of the season.
Definitely. Just before we sort of read the rest of the comments before the end of the show, John, Dubravka or Darlow tomorrow?
Darlow.
Pete?
Darlow.
James?
Darlow.
So that's 4 Darlows. You're through to the next round. So he should be definitely in. Or that previous question was Matt Ritchie as a player manager. What do you guys think, John?
Nah. He needs seriously no chance, honestly. If he's going to be manager sort of thing, or player manager, he needs to learn his trade and do it at Bournemouth or somewhere like that sort of thing. Do it for a couple of years at Bournemouth and then show what he can do. And then after that, if he's good enough and he's won things or whatever, come to us. But nah.
Can't really take the risk on a player manager who's not experienced. I think it's a good shout in the future, Geordie, no doubt about it. But when we're a team that's needing somebody to give us a lift and have a bit of experience, I'm with James. Nigel Pearson is the obvious one when it comes to that. When you have a good hard think. I know people have mentioned Eddie Howe, but I'd never even thought of Pearson, James, till you mentioned him tonight. And
I mentioned Pearson on a short-term basis, but then if you're looking beyond a takeover, then maybe for next season when Eddie Howe, because he said, didn't he, in the summer, I want to take a season out. So if you look at short term, I think Pearson would be absolutely bang on for the job. But then what I'm trying to say is, without sort of using him, if we do get a takeover, then give him something in terms of the club in some capacity. Do you know what I mean? Even have him as part of Eddie Howe's backroom stuff. I don't know. Just
I was
keep him as part of the identity of the club.
Yeah. I was going to say that. Just keep him on in some sort of role as well. Make him that promise to say, look, if we do bring another manager in next season, we are keeping you at the club.
I want his passion. I want his drive. I used to watch his interviews for Watford, and he was just so passionate. He wanted the team to win. And if we can have him for short term, I'd take it.
I'll tell you what, I bet Watford wish they kept him now. The way they've gone on, I tell you, ridiculous. He always blows it when he tries to score. That's Joelinton, without a shadow of a doubt. Oh, Bruce Pulis. Oh my God.
Am I honest on that?
Go on. None. No. I think if it was Bruce Pulis or eat my own feces, I would choose option C. I've got
do you know one of the plastic seats in the stadium? Just put one of them. Just rip one of them out. Put it on the dugout, and there you go. That's he could probably do a better job.
Yeah, honestly, nah.
They're finished, man. Honestly, these managers are finished. This is the problem. They keep getting jobs.
Exactly. Jason says Darlow for England, Dubravka also for England. Lol. Darlow deserves an England call-up. I'm under shadow. You know, I said on my preview or my review of the Arsenal game, I can't remember which one it was, that we are lucky in a way that we have probably now got two of the best goalkeepers in England. And that's not being biased. That's not, if you look at the goalkeepers that are available for England, you know, is Darlow better than Pickford? Hell yes.
Darlow's much better than Pickford.
Yeah. He's levels, man. Levels above.
But again, the media have a loving with Pickford, and we know this, and that will always be the case. And unfortunately, Pickford's going to be around the setup for a long time to come. I don't understand. I'll never get it. He's a good shot stopper, but the rest of it, you know, and
it's for me, it's down to Carlo Ancelotti. It's down to the fact that Everton are competing in the top 7 and Newcastle are just mid-table, and they accept that for England, unfortunately.
The Burnley keeper, what's his name, Pope?
Class.
He's a good goalkeeper, so I think he should be there. And you know, Henderson, I disagree with anyone who's in the England setup but sits on his arse the whole season. Henderson hardly plays, so why should he be given an England shout? He's a damn good goalkeeper, don't get me wrong. But if Henderson wants to be in the England setup, he needs to either play all the time. Now, will he get his chance at Man United shortly? Will De Gea be moving on? Who knows? But if De Gea's going to be staying there, he's got to go somewhere where he's getting first-team football. Because for me, a goalkeeper like Henderson should not be sitting on the bench. It's a bit like Dubravka. He shouldn't be sitting on the bench either. But again, how do you put? Well, I know De Gea's had his faults this season, but I think he's improved in recent games. Can
I just quickly talk about the keeper situation? Well, we have got a dilemma though, Paul, because we gave Darlow a 5-year contract. Dubravka's on a big contract. We've also got Freddie Woodman. We've got Dan Langley. We've got a lot of keepers, and I'll tell you what, when it comes to the summer, we're going to have to make some big decisions.
Yeah, there's a lot of shifting to be done. Now, whether there's a takeover or not, there is a lot of stuff needs to go on in the background with regards to players, because, you know, we've signed some players on ridiculous contracts. If you look at some of them, you know, the years that we've given them for a start. I mean, I don't understand giving certain players, you know, 4 and 5 year contracts for me. I cannot understand that. But Jules says Dubravka should start better communication with our defence. I'm not sure. I don't think Darlow's done a bad job. I think we need a leader. I think we need a leader in the defence, because I don't think Lascelles is that leader we need. Personally, I think Kieran Clark is more of a leader.
Kieran Clark's been unsung, in my opinion. I think he's fantastic. Best we've got. Him and Fernandez are brilliant. Shaw's turned a bit of form as well.
He has. I was absolutely disgusted the other night to see all the hatred towards Clark for making that mistake.
He gave over.
It's happened before.
Over.
What the hell do these people do? You know what I mean? It's like he's been one of our best players this season, and nobody can argue with that. And the fact is, to give him abuse like that, saying he doesn't deserve to wear the shirt. I mean, for me, a lot of these negative comments on Twitter come from kids. who
Paul, the thing is, Paul, we all make mistakes, and he's the sort of player who would just ride it and just get on with it.
Yeah, he did. He picked his head up, he got on with the game. But you've got to consider how tired he was at the end when he made that mistake. You know, you're switching off by then. Your body's shutting down. You're knackered. You can't. You know, I just felt so sorry for him because he's been one of our best. I haven't
seen it, but I haven't seen the comments because I don't tend to go on. I do have Twitter, but I don't tend to read a lot of it because it's all pretty much negative. But listen, I think since he's been in the side, he's been 10 out of 10 for me. I think that's my opinion. I think he's been decent, but Lascelles for me, he's long way off the side. I think now. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know whether you guys agree, but when Lascelles started the other night, I was shocked because I thought if he's had this long-term COVID problem and now suddenly he's in the team straight out the bat. I mean, he looked yards off the pace from the word go. His tackling was horrendous. He got booked. I mean, Pete, what did you? I mean, I know you mentioned it in your play ratings video about Lascelles.
Yeah, I've had that feeling he was actually going to start but I think we'll be regretting that massively now. You can tell he's not match fit. You can tell he's been suffering with coronavirus. And the tackling in the first half just proved it, didn't it? And he was taken off at half time.
If he starts tomorrow, there's a serious issue there somewhere. Like
I think it's really to be rested from what
I'll do my the team lineups as well on the live watch as well because I'll do split screen as well now. If you know it. And I think it's absolutely magnificent. And I'll be looking at our team lineup very closely to see if Joelinton plays, Lascelles play, and if they do. Oh man, there's got to be serious questions asked about this manager. I'm telling you.
Honestly, I think if the team lineups come out tomorrow night and Joelinton's name is on that starting 11, I'm a broken man. And then 5 minutes later, I'll be angry. But hopefully, he won't be. Anyway, Lawrence says Darlow to keep his place. We'll do the last couple of comments before we end. Woodman, Dubravka, Darlow, who would you sell, lads? Well, at the minute, it would be Woodman, unfortunately, because I wouldn't really want to get rid of Dubravka and Darlow. You can't drop Darlow for the form he's been in. Dubravka is a brilliant goalkeeper too, but for me, Darlow should keep his place, and it would be criminal on Darlow if he was to be dropped. I think we're all of the same opinion there, lads. I think we all agree with that. No way should he be out. Darlow's the best English goalkeeper. I'm not even being biased. I think Darlow's proved so many people wrong this season.
Yeah,
I think he had a point to prove. I think he would have got if he'd have looked on social media before the season started, he would have realised that a lot of Newcastle fans were worried when Dubravka got injured and thought, oh, we've got to start the season with Darlow. We're in trouble. And suddenly he thinks, right, I'm going to prove to everybody how good I am. And he's done exactly that. But I think the goalkeeping coach needs to take a lot of credit for this as well, James.
I do. I think he's really nurtured them, hasn't he? Even since I think he's been a Rafa, hasn't he? Has he been there? He's been there a while. But you know, at the end of the day, the way we play, we need a good goalkeeper because we don't do that in the final third. And if it wasn't for how well trained they are, Dubravka and Darlow, and even Woodman, who's out on loan at Swansea, who I think will probably leave at the end of the season, I think we're being deeper trouble.
Well, here we go, lads. Steve Bruce himself has come on, as you can see in the comments there. Well, you know, Darlow is my number 2. Steve, thank you for that comment. Anyway, let's move on. Steve Bruce is that clueless he would ask a fish to climb a tree. Jesus. Oh, maybe sometimes. Bruce needs to ring Alex Ferguson for help. The man is a dictionary definition of clueless, without a shadow of a doubt. That's what gets me about Bruce, though. He worked as a player under Ferguson for quite a while, and he surely would have taken something from that, Pete.
Yeah, absolutely, but it just feels like he hasn't.
Do you know what? Do you want an example of that? Who worked alongside Ferguson? McLaren. Yes, okay, he won the League Cup with Middlesbrough, but he's never really been a good manager, has he? So there's another example of someone clueless.
I think a lot of people said McLaren was more of a coach than he is a manager, though, isn't he? So,
we all know what happened when we had Steve McLaren as manager.
Well, let's not even go there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a bad time of life, that. Truel says Bruce isn't clueless. He just can't organise a team. I think the man's clueless. I really do. I don't think he's got any ambition. He's got no hope. He's got no tactics. He's got nothing. Would take Andy as player manager short term. Andy Carroll. Oh no.
Yeah, I think that's no.
if Richie's going to be manager, go to a non-league club or a League Two club. Yeah, you've got to learn your trade. Exactly. That's what it's all about. Same comment there. Ryan says, I feel Dallow is overrated, but I feel Dallow is overrated. He's not confident in the box, plus his distribution is crap. Yes, I agree, not fair to change, but Dubravka is better than Dallow. John, what do you think of that comment?
First of all, he's not overrated. I think he's had a fantastic season. And yeah, he needs one thing I've got a critique about Carl, a little critique. I think he needs to shout at his defenders more and lead more. But at the end of the day, I cannot argue that he's made some crackers. He's a great shot stopper at him, and it's been proved this season. Do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, he's definitely not overrated. I think he's a canny keeper, which he's improved. I have to wait a long time to get his number one place. And he's done it with flying colours.
It's what we said before, though. Everybody's got their opinion, and everybody's entitled to it. Dallow's been peppered with loads of shots, making him, in my opinion, slightly overrated. Again, you know, it's how you deal with those shots, though, Ryan, and he's dealt with them superbly well. It's not all about just getting in the way. Let's have a look. Pickford is England's golden boy. Well, yes, Geordie, 100%. Pickford will cost Everton points. He already has, in my opinion. He's cost them quite a few. Freddie Woodman will stay at Swansea if they get promoted. And I hope, you know, if there was a permanent move there for Freddie, then fine. But I have a feeling if it was Woodman or Darlow would go first because he'd be after first-team football if he lost his place again. Pete?
Yeah, definitely agree.
James?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Would you give Gale a new contract? No.
No.
Lots of people have their opinion on Gale. I know me and James have had our say on Gale on our channels that he's more of a championship player. That's not being disrespectful to Gale at all. I just think, you know, if you look how prolific he was in our championship season for us compared to his Premier League years, I just think he is more suited to that.
And West Brom as well. He nearly got them promoted as well.
Exactly. So no, I wouldn't give him a new contract. I think he's better off at a championship club, in my opinion, and all of us. I think Woodman will join Swansea permanently, and Langley will get a loan move.
But actually, Paul, you say that you mentioned Dwight Gale. He's been talked about returning back to Crystal Palace, and there's also talk of Fulham. So I think, to be honest, he'd probably suit one of them sort of sides who need a striker like Dwight Gale who will do them a job. I still believe he's more championship, but if Fulham go down, or even Palace, because it's still possible, then
Palace. I mean, if you look at Palace, they don't have a goal scorer now because Benteke certainly isn't classed as a goal scorer. Zaha's a winger, he's not a goal scorer. So I think if he went to somewhere like Palace, he'd be the main man again. Certainly in the short term, he would. So that move would probably be an excellent move for him, to be honest. Geordie wouldn't say the negative comments are from kids. I would say that negative comments are from people looking for reaction. Yes, I mean, when I say kids, I mean like younger supporters who really haven't supported Newcastle as long as certain members have. Like, you know, John's supported them since 1914, just before the war. So, you know, John's got more info on the older players, haven't you, John?
I wish. I wish.
No, but it's what I mean is by like
that far. 1969. I was born in '69, and that's what we.
Well, I was 76, mate. So I kind of, you know, what I mean by that is kids that haven't known maybe the Keegan era and certain, teams before that went through the 80s of went through the 80s of Mirandinha and Pingle and all of them kind of players. We've been up, we've been down, we've been up again, and then we're going through a right downer at the minute. So that's what I meant by that. But you're right. A lot of people do put negative things on Twitter just for a reaction, which is sad, really. I don't want ourselves back in the lineup.
No, there's no chance.
No, not for me.
Geordie, do you think Lascelles is overrated? Yes, I do. I'm not being disrespectful to him. I think he is overrated. I think I don't know why he was ever made captain. I think he wasn't good enough to be made captain, and he's not good enough. Anyway, there's a lot more comments coming in, but we have to end it there. We've been on for just over an hour and a half, which I didn't even realise. It's flown by tonight. Thank you very much, you guys, for coming on again. Obviously, we've got a game next Monday, so maybe do Tuesday night next week if you're available.
No problem. That's absolutely fine.
Right. Well, I'll let you know on Twitter. But once again, thank you guys for joining. We'll catch you later.
Cheers.
Right, everybody, thank you very much for watching the live stream tonight. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do hit the subscription button. We are very, very close to actually getting 500 now. I think we're about 20 away. So that would mean the world to me if we can get to 500 and then build up towards the 1,000. It's starting to really come together, this channel. Lots of football, lots of guys joining in on the live streams or commenting on the videos, which is brilliant to see. So I want to thank each and every one of you. Also, smash the like button for us, will you, please? Because that does help me build the channel even further. Again, thank you very much for watching. There'll be more live streams to come. And obviously, the match review from tomorrow night, which will probably might be out late tomorrow night, or it'll be first thing on Wednesday morning. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching the live stream again. Take care, everybody.
Be strong. Be strong.